Hello, Captain Bringdown here. Welcome, brothers and sisters, on another special GTA 5 mystery video. This time focusing on the Chiliad Mural mystery, and hopefully giving you definitive answers on what this actually means. Now, one of the biggest unanswered questions in the mystery community is the true meaning behind what the mural actually is. And for a lot of mystery hunters, this is where their hunt actually begins. Now, I've shown many examples on how this is related to time. Another name for the game is that this is a moving maze. Now, when we start to break it down and to look at what all these individual pieces mean, there's been many different interpretations over the years, but none of them are sufficient enough to answer every single question. And even my first assessment early on was that maybe these 5 boxes are just connected to 100% story completion, because again, that's the simplest answer. But it still doesn't give us the answer of the reasoning of why this was created in the first place. What does each of these individual lines mean? Is there something that we can gain from understanding here? And most importantly, though, you must pay attention to how some lines are bold, some lines are faded. This is done for a reason. This is not just the markings on the wall, but everything here actually is going to have representation in the game itself. And so I'm going to show you how all these things fit together and why these lines are separated, why certain lines are connected, why other lines are not. But we're going to show simple correspondence. Now, even Laszlo in a recent interview explains on how these things are being relayed to us throughout the game itself. But anybody who is an honorary Ascended Master or one of my followers will tell you that that is something I've been preaching from the very beginning, is how these clues are being shown to us, how these clues are supposed to be put together. Because just like a regular puzzle, you're going to have to put all those pieces together into the sections that they belong to, and in order to know where they belong, then you're going to be looking for simple levels of correspondence that way you know that those fit in this section of the puzzle. And this is exactly how the game is broken up and expressed to us. But a lot of these clues of this talking tree and this tree of truth are given to us in a metaphorical or a symbolic way. And this is something I've also been trying to teach in all my other videos. And this is something I've also explained, that so the metaphor for this Chiliad mural is this is the tree of truth. This is the talking tree. And again, this is shown to us in the Epsilon track, as this is something that you're supposed to be seeing these things like this from the very beginning. Each of those lines, each of those bends and curves is giving you a sense of direction, telling you where you came from and where you need to go. If you know me, I've said that a lot. But I don't always give you all the answers. But neither does the mural itself. This fruit tree is in fact a lie. But as these new things are coming out, they're trying to show that there are more paths involved here in this tree that you can relate to this tree as well, but they are not giving you the whole answer. But this is the general game itself. So first, let's start with the symbolism of the tree. And when is it first shown to us in the game? And from the very beginning, you're going to see this pole associated with this tree and Michael's grave, and how Michael is only shown to us on the left side of this tree. And the middle line, I've already shown on how the egg is directed to the peak of the pyramid, the completion of the game that is directly involved with Epsilon. And this is something shown to us again very early on in the game. You can see this pyramid missing its peak, with the line starting from Michael's right eye, going to the left eye in the magazine, going straight up. Between these blinds here, staggered accordingly. Notice the golden in on the magazine vein. You can see the same example shown here, where a man being beamed up between these staggered blinds or these blocks. Same thing we see at Legion Square. But why pink and gold? So this is, again, another small example of how clues are being shown to us. There's actually a lot going on there I'm not referencing yet. But notice the pink and gold right there, also with the light. And this is Trevor's side. Again, this is shown to us early on in the game that Trevor runs to the right side of the tree. Because when Trevor's side begins, he begins on that side. There he is, in the right, running into the mist. But let's start at the very beginning, and let me show you how individual lines here are being put together and how these clues are being shown to us through the game. So from the very beginning, Rockstar is trying to teach you how to perceive these clues in this game. They're giving you a message here, even down to the mat and stickers on the ground. If we look even at the magazines and the newspapers, if you knew this was a moving maze, it tells you there's nowhere to turn for the maze. Now, that magazine gives you a lot of clues as far as direction goes, and I will show more correspondence of that later on when we reach those missions. As you can see, the woman being knocked down here, and then we see the pussycat, 3 balls, the double-stacked chimney with the present, but most importantly, the sticker that says that it is linked to Los Santos, this SIG security. The bobcat on the wall. If you're a fan of the Epsilon track, you're looking for A to Z and Z and A back again. This is the first time the A and Z reference is even given to us, is in the lobby of North Yankton. So just like you see this duality from the beginning, how the girl is being knocked down, and then we see how the guard is being knocked down. See the male and the female aspect. Now match those ties and that man's vest to the mat out in the lobby. You'll see how it went from props to a human being. Now notice he's wearing a brown coat, and again when we get to the next guard, he's not wearing the brown coat. So again we keep seeing this flipping of the clues and how things are changing as we move on. See Bobcat in the lobby there, Bobcat in the office here. Now Ned Luke says in his video Pros Play the Game, and I quote, "There are a lot of references in the North Yankton Bank to future events in the game," end quote. As you can see, the sticker obeys and survives. So as soon as we enter to that door, this insight here is connected to Los Santos. That bar is actually added in New Gen, and again was added there to help show you correspondence on how this is related to the mural and other parts of the game. Now Ned Luke said one of the first examples was right here when he's being held by Jasper, whose name means treasurer or protector of treasure. Notice that Trevor lines up with that bar. You're going to see a lot of that throughout the game on how the characters are lining up with the clues in which they are either talking about or making references to later on. Again, the famous line, "You forget 1,000 things every day," directly related to a future event, jewelry heist, which thus leads us to Trevor being unlocked in the game. Which again, we hear it on the news report when he's with Ashley. This is the first golden chunk we see on the lines here. This will be directly related to the first line and bend on the mural, starting on the left side, as we blow through the last Los Santos door. So again, to reiterate what I'm trying to show you here is how these elements that are shown in previous missions are coming with us as we travel along through the game. The same as we see the Bobcat cat again. And again, they will make references and hints to all these things, and you'll see these things as you move on through the game. I'm going to skip for a bit here and go straight to the scenes, to the driving scene here. Where again, Trevor breaks a glass, just like he does when he's first introduced. And we see his brain spray all over Michael's face. But notice there too that Michael makes them crash into a tree. This is something we're going to see moving forward as they crash into the train. Now this is about aliens, and where's the track? See? And again we see the train, another huge clue, and they crash into the tree. And just like the symbolism I mentioned before with the tree, you're going to see Trevor exiting out the right side, and Michael exiting out the left side. So you can see the symbolism based on this tree starts from the very beginning of the game. And the piece of the mural begins, the faded line in the beginning. And we move on to Los Santos. We see the Bobcat psychiatrist on the other side and the pussycat. So now that we are in Los Santos, we're looking for the next part of the mural. And this is actually where we see the very beginning. In the beginning of Frank and Lamar when he gets to Simeon's place. And again, the connection here is Jimmy, which is the connection with with Michael. This is the first part of the, the second golden line right there. And then we see the third chunk of the golden line right here. Just like the pillars we saw in North Yankton. See the pillars here. Now the big deal about this is that there's nothing in reposition as far as the line goes. So we're moving directly to the X. And this is the first time you actually cross that maze. And just like the magazine, the Lombard Bank actually has the cock on it, exactly like we see here. Right next to the first time you turn past the maze. And this again is the symbolism that we saw in North Yankton being shown here to show you which mission is actually the X. And this is in fact complications. And like Franklin says, it's not exactly how it looks.
It's not exactly how it looks.
Because throughout the whole game, this is where you're going to be finding the most clues, is during these cutscenes. Because the game itself isn't really going to show you much. Because again, you could hit those spots anytime you want. So we're looking for these key points, and what Rockstar is showing us, their set-up scenes. Because this is a setup. So again, what we're seeing here is that after the first X, how the line continues on into the next. And notice the shape of that X. And because it's going to match the X right there for zero fuel, or even Simeon's PDM. And the reason why it's PDM, not only just the name, but it's also showing us 3 paths breaking off from the first X, after the line, of course. Here we see the example of the 3 lines coming afterwards. And notice that he always is going to end staring in front of the stairwell that's facing behind them.
That I could not have said better myself.
This is a big clue because this is also going to be shown later on. Now, I've also shown on how you can model these missions also in Red Dead Redemption 2. So let me show you the first X from the mission. After you set up your camp and listen very closely to the clues that are related to Grand Theft Auto 5 to show you correspondence. The breast, whatever you say, pussycats.
Arthur, come here, come over here. I want you to meet our friends.
Pleased to meet you.
Well, ain't you just a tough-as-teak mountain man?
Oh, you be quiet,
Their necklaces as well, green
Anyone
and baby
can tell
blue.
this one is a
Anastasia, the
pussy
missing
cat.
princess,
Exactly.
pussy
Yes, he's
cat.
a pussy cat. Ain't that so, Arthur?
Whatever you say.
Whatever you say, just
much
like
it
Frank
cost,
always
anyway?
says when
Well,
clues
ain't
are
that
given.
a nice way to talk to a lady?
Oh, I didn't know I was talking to a lady.
Excuse me.
And Bill's coming from across the street, which we know the girls take them when they go have sex with them.
Yeah.
This again is a hint to the 2 girls you're supposed to see early on in Grand Theft Auto 5,
Man. I dread to think about it.
which I will show later in the Golden Path video.
There he is.
And just like complications, they're going to break through the window. There's a clue also in Grand Theft Auto that in order to break into Vinewood, you might just have to break through a windshield. Did you see the X flying by? Don't worry, they'll show it again. So just like complications, this where the first X is, we also see a fist fight. Now show us the X. There it is. Don't worry, I'll show it again. And just like this face gets pushed up against it, we see the same thing happening here as well. Notice the 3 wheels in the back as well. So again, the reason why they're doing this is because they're trying to show you how these things are corresponding with also Grand Theft Auto 5.
Come, sir. You won the fight already. Surely that's enough.
What business is it of yours?
No business.
2 X's in the back.
But please.
Because when you start seeing these X's, it's not just 1 X. You're usually going to see 3 X's. XXX.
Look who we found sniffing about.
And after this first X is when he meets Michael, just like we meet
How
Treone.
you gone to New York?
And miss all this glamour. You must be joking.
How are you?
Well, quite well indeed. I went to
And this is something that Frank says to Michael in the beginning of Father and Son. I see you doing well for yourself.
Ah,
This is also where we meet Acrisius and the Proteus. And the 3 paths being shown here as an example.
Well as can be. Gentlemen, always a pleasure.
And of course the X with the very long extended tail like they show us in Grand Theft Auto 5. There it is. Now let's work on to the next line, which again, if we look for clues to tell us what this is actually father and son. Just like the blue and the white are shown there, we see the blue and the white here. And at the end of that line, we can see that there's a little peak right there, just like we see on the Chiliad mural as well, right there. Now moving on, we can see that this line connects directly to the Epsilon line, and this is because this is when you should in fact go, when this bitch's face gets pushed against the glass, we should go to the stallion. And this is when I usually go talk to Bagor. But the clues to actually go see the red truck don't actually appear until the end when you're going to at father and son. This is what it means to invest in red. It's in your best interests. Church. Brother from another mother. That's brother. And this is why he also says peace, and he raises his right hand as well. This is something we see also when Michael goes to the red truck. And we also see the pole-like tree connected to the other tree like we saw in Michael's death scene, or the funeral scene in North Yankton. Right hand against the tree. And this is something else. Father, uncle, brother, cousin, and son. And fights just like we see in Complications. And when Michael rises again, we see this directly across from where we pick up the final piece for the space part, the space docker, and also where Michael's death scene is across the way. And then, of course, this is at the satellite array, which in the beginning of Chop, we also see you should have gone to the satellite array in the very beginning of Chop as well. But now let's move back on to the T that is Tanya and the clues that are leading to the next few lines. Again, we see this crossroad example here and the T shown in the background as it is highlighted by the light. And this is also shown in Employee of the Month, the missing I, and the missing N across from the T. And then the greatest argument, should we go to Simeon first or should we go to Tanya first? Because if we had gone to repossession, then to father and son, notice he mentions repossession, all missions are locked out until we go see Tanya.
Why don't you come over here and let me take care of that lonely ass?
Because it's Tanya that actually unlocks all the other side missions, which is again something we see in North Yankton. The rivals give us access to all areas.
So I ain't seen you around the hood much?
I've been trying to branch out.
And this is also why Frank says she hasn't seen him, because again he's trying to branch out. Now I know this clue tells us to go to her after repossession, but this is wrong. Now let's get back to the N-word.
N-word. That's not cool, man.
This again is shown in Hal's mission, this Rainbow Road connecting them both together. The parking that we see in Chop, and across the way we see how the rainbow line goes to the inn, or this lightning bolt that we see associated with Michael. We see it here as well. This is the Rainbow Road that connects both worlds that we know from Norse mythology as Bifrost. And again, in Chop, you can see you pass down this crooked T, just like we see in Employee of the Month, a J or a T, depending on which way you are looking at it. And we also pass accepting the truth, the Epsilon mission. But now I want you to pay attention to this weird S in the back with the long top, because this is also why this is this side of the mural that shows us how it goes over the wall. That is in fact long stretch. We also see the N in front of the S, and which is what we also see here in front of the S and the T. The dropping S is shown to us at the end also in long stretch, and we hear the beautiful line up and out, because this is again us going over the wall or the outside of the mural. He also makes a reference to Eye in the Sky, but most importantly we also see put a herring in it. That's also a reference to accepting the truth, which I will show later. Also the hidden right triangle that we see here, because this is a triangulation. There are other hidden triangles throughout the game, and I will show those later. So here we go, jumping over the wall. But now let's get back to this other line that is connected to Beverly. The top of the T, which you can actually see right there, the air conditioned ducts. Now, the reason why this one is significant as well is because of these tiles here are supposed to be your clue to match with marriage counseling. How you're supposed to be connecting these together. But most importantly, we see the Z, the top, branching out, which is the other side of the Redemption coffee shop. Which in Michael, at the end of Father and Son, if you switch back to him, you'll see he switches exactly right here, which there are many references here related not just to Beverly, but also on our way to Lester's friend request. This is where we see him raising up his hand here, just like we see with Epsilon, and Michael usually says it's this track right here. You see the broken top of the Z, or the red Z that we saw that was broken from Beverly's end mission Paparazzo. This is where Michael crosses the line, and you should already know about the moths that connect with Long Stretch and the lights. So as you see, these things are all showing correspondence to where things are connected. Not to mention you're going to pass the Epsilon house in which you're delivering cars to Epsilon. Pulling down the house here, just like we see in Trevor's prologue, because remember, this is leading the reason why we get to Trevor in the first place. Just like he pulls Ortega's house in Trevor's prologue, which pushes into the river. We also see the DJ equipment there that is going to be connected to Life Invader. Did you hear the cha-ching when the house comes down? And also the line that connects Michael's golden in or lightning bolt to this is actually shown right here.
Fuck, man, fuck.
That'll always be there every time you pull down that house. So now let's move on to the Epsilon. Notice that he looks at the red boxes behind him. He's going to glance at them one more time, and Michael's going to end with the red boxes behind him, staggered beautifully, just like they are in Legion Square. And also, that's the herring you're supposed to put into it. Now, again, we see the hotline straight to heaven, and the double cubes that we see in connection here. This is connecting, accepting the truth, alien prober, and also defenders of the faith. And this is why it's a smoky backdrop. The day on the calendar is the day that it was GTA 5 was released, and why her hand was also lifted up, because showing the Epsilon connection. The guy here who looks like a UFO ship says it was fun while it lasted. Notice how the X is faded on the top there, specific line, and it's broken. You can see the J and the golden ladder going up, and it breaks off to the X. Notice that there's a checkered floor connected with the X that is on the mural. Where did we see that before? That's right, guys. In Complications, because they're trying to show you connections here that this is the X and that is the X. Like I said, the faded lines there that's painted gray with the X, as you see the exact same painting there as well. Now, things are going to change seemingly overnight. And then they started to show clues here in relationship to order, the DJ, the chop, the birds associated with Trevor, even the stars. And this is also where we're going to see on Trevor's side that things are changing, and they start pointing to the paintings. Because remember, this is after Julia Heist is leading us to Trevor's side of the mural. Now things are going to move a lot faster now because this is sped up for Trevor. We're going to go through all the clues very quickly, and things are shown a very different way. You can start to match his prologue lines immediately with the sign across from the street. And as we move on to the rest of the prologue, you can see that the barn he goes to right here with the Lost is actually where Michael also passes when he's meeting Marnie out here at Grapeseed. And this trailer is also represented here in this little black spot as we move this into the river. Now it's interesting that this is something Miriam Ballard mentioned in one of her seminars on how a river can become a line or a border. And again, we see how when the trailer is on the river, it creates the same border like we see on the mural.
Could be a trap.
Now here's where they actually show you a big chunk of the Chiliad mural. The matches here will line that in which you see on the mural as well. And if you notice, the X right there is actually situated away from the line. It's showing you what is supposed to be associated with the X. And this is where you are being drawn out, or out in the open.
That's a conspiracy theory too far, even for you, Ronald.
Really?
Really?
Anyway.
I love that part. So, again, this is the first mission you're supposed to go to, which is the Chinese. And then you're going to see a lot of things in here that are associated, just like you saw in the Life Invader office. You're going to see a lot of things here associated with the Order. And just like Trevor's missions do begin with a fistfight. You see a descendant of Kraft on the picture behind her, with this red head with green eyes. The dress actually matches that. That was in Tracy's room.
He's one. Ban him.
Look, he raises his hand. And this actually models just like we saw in North Yankton with the Sparks, even voltage sign right there. Same bar associated right there.
He's my goddamn husband.
Now, the Chinese guy's going to start making very interesting comments, making a lot of funny comments, because he's pointing and trying to get you to look at these pictures. The pictures on the wall, again, like the Life Invader office, are associated with the path in which you should be going. Here we go.
Mr. Phillips.
Welcome back now matches the welcome back sign that we see in Franklin's mission. Near his house, we see the tractor on the top painting there that matches exactly the one you passed in North Yankton. See, high as fuck. Look up high. Notice he goes straight to the jukebox. Notice he's pointing at the truck there, because that matches the beginning. We see the plane and we see the trailer matching with Nervous Ron and the hunting. The swamp or muddy picture there is actually the O'Neill's ranch. He hugs them just like Simeon hugs Frank. Best moments of his life. There he goes, pointing at all the paintings. Look at these two, he says.
No, don't go. Please, I beg you.
Now out here, the signs, the logger also, you'll find that with the final hunting when you're on Paleto Bay. The hatchet.
Serious business.
We also see the light in the back that actually matches what's in front of Tanya when she's speaking to you for the first time. And he says he's rushing because, again, like I said, this is a sped up version of everything that we just went through when we got here. And we have the same missions here where you have to decide where to go first. Now, as you can see, the model of the bar actually matches the X on Trevor's side. But is there any way for us to know for sure that this is the X? And this is, again, it's a talking tree.
Now give me some of that goddamn X.
Give me that X.
I'm afraid.
And again, the signs here, he makes a reference to a little birdie told him.
Other opportunities.
Because again, this is a combination of you're supposed to be looking out for the stuff and listening. But why was that X a strong bold line and a faded line? Well, because when you get here at the very specific time that it sets up for you, the X is actually created on the icebox as well, where the icebox is where you hid them during Trevor Phillips Industries. We see the line being created here with the motel going up and the 5 stars that relate to Floyd's apartment when you get there, the same 5 stars. Now this line was a little bit harder to find because it is this bottom line connecting to the light blue line, as you can see here. This is the beginning of Eye and the Sky. Notice connected to the moon as well. I'm here at the right time. So you're going to see another example of this line also against the wall here. But again, that's kind of specious reasoning. Is there any other clue to let us know that this is in fact is the bottom line?
10 years on the job and all they care about is the bottom line.
Because remember, this is a talking tree. Now notice this guy here also talks about Lord Zaffo. The first time we hear anything about Lord Zaffo is in the very beginning with Franklin's repossession. Because again, this line, bottom line is also connected closest to Franklin's line. And just like that mission, you're trying to find the garage that's hiding the vehicle. Just like in repossession. So again, this is something I mentioned before in the path and how past things are connecting to future events. Now every line has been accounted for except for the one that hangs free. Alcaldía Libre. This is why it's hang free, because it is hanging freely on the mural. And now this is something that I've mentioned before in other videos, but I've never exactly told you why that X was important. If you see Patricia right here on this checkered board pattern on the wine rack, she literally bends down to show us the X right in front of her face, even down to the red and white we see on the other X's. So now the only thing that's unaccounted for is Trevor's top X, which this is again where your decisions matter the most and where you go to approach. Notice the DP. This is kind of a reversal of the PDDM. The octopus life raft drops out, which is where you're going to go at the end of the mission, next to the octopus. And there's the freestanding X going up that we see connected to the ship. Notice all the containers are also sinking into the water as well. But now this is a big deal because when these two lines collide, where it happens to be a huge event. This is where these two worlds are colliding again. The Merryweather heist. Again, this is connecting the Merryweather heist to, again, the Merryweather train. This is the kind of stuff you need to look for, because you're always trying to find these connections. And notice he says his and hers. Again, we see this male and female duality of these two things coming together in order to reach the peak. So in this context, it's these two storylines again, Michael and Trevor, male and female, going up. What's interesting in Red Dead Redemption 2, when you actually find this statue, it appears to be a female statue and changes to a male statue in your inventory. Again, showing connection between those two games. And again, the male and female aspect being shown to us as the clue. And he says it very clearly here that the lines are all done. Only thing left is the big one, going straight up to the UFO. Because again, we're talking about the Union Depository, trying to get to the end of the game now. Here we go, listen.
What? Union Depository. Fuck off. Can't be done. I never said impossible. Just very difficult.
Verging suicidal?
That a line you're afraid to cross? Come on, T.
Notice he says that a line you were afraid to cross, because again, these two lines are crossing. And this again goes back to why it is called the Tree of Truth, because anytime we're talking about the mural and the missions, they are actually referencing the mural. It is speaking the truth. So not, again, this is about dialogue, this is about props, and this is about matching the symbolism in order to understand it. Because if every line has been accounted for, then the only line that's left is the big one, that going straight up to the completion of this game. That's why we're talking about the Union Depository, your very last heist. Here he goes, the big one. Keep your eye on you.
Every inch of the way, all right?
Every inch of the way, right? And I want to point out that every single line up to this point has been shown to you. So there's nothing left but the big one on the mural. Now these clues again are shown to us in many different ways, in many different facets throughout the whole game. And even then, did you notice that if you knew that the Chiliad mural was a pyramid, that there's only one line being shown even here to the head? But now let's talk about the bottom line, the bottom symbols here. If you see my previous videos, I've shown on how this spaceship here is most likely related to Franklin and the Space Docker. Also, that line is connected directly to Franklin's line, but also connected to Michael's line. And it's not a coincidence that they both end at the same spot, the same camp. And I've already explained in other videos as well on how the egg is connected to not just Epsilon, but the egg on Chiliad, which we know is related to the completion of whatever the Chiliad mystery is. And now no one has ever actually found the egg outside of online. And this is not a jetpack, and I've already explained several times that this is actually the Dominator. He even lines up perfectly to show you that he is the guy stuck in the tree, and why the line connects here all the way to Chiliad, all the way to Franklin. But what do these lightning bolts mean? See, they're not actually lightning bolts most of the time. This is a mental thing. You're supposed to be putting these elements together. But they also mention something else.
One serious fucking buzzkill.
Buzzkill.
We buzzing the Union Depository.
See, these again are clues that you're supposed to be putting together symbolically. These aren't real. But now we do know that there is some kind of connection with lightning.
Lightning bolt. Zap! You're alive. You know how it feels. You go out walking amongst the drones.
I love how he puts his hands like Aleister Crowley, and also makes an eye. Because again, these are symbols being used together to give you a message. But as we know, the women are connected here. This is the peach tree, and what I also believe the witch symbolism is based off of Ursula, which we know brings lightning. But there's also what I haven't mentioned was the eagle, and what the symbolism here is too. Because again, this is going to be a companion to showing you direction and how this is related to karma, dharma, because it is about right actions. But this eagle isn't what you think it is. And there's something that I've coined mirror correspondence on how you're combining A to Z, Z to A. These missions in the past and in the future are referencing each other. And so this is again going to go back into the moving maze when I start getting into the golden path. Now the majority of mystery hunters are completely mystified as to what is going on here. But for you, my followers, and those who have been paying attention to what I've been teaching you, and also all the new DLC that is being released, if you can extrapolate answers from this, you can see that this is not as confusing as you think it is. This is a puzzle. But you must open your mind. You must become the fool again. You're so jaded in your understanding that you're not seeing what's been given to you, that has and always will be right in front of your face. Well, until next time, mystery hunters, keep searching. Captain Bringdown out.